Hi class, an apology for not being able to assist to last Friday's class. I was really sick with the flu and still am. But I'll try to make up to you by creating a full video tutorial about the class we missed, about loops and the new object we're going to be using called TextView controller. So last class we learned how to add, remove elements from arrays, and today we're gonna learn how to use loops in Swift and using the new controller TextView. Excuse me. So loops. What loops are is just a loop executes a series of instructions several times, or how many times the user wants for it to run. What we're gonna do in Swift loops, or in this case, we're going to be looping through an array, through all the different values inside an array. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the first item, run some code on that item, then take the next item, and so on and so forth. So what we do in loops, we're going to be using a foreign loop, because there are different types of loops. Let's stick to foreign. So I know it can be just a little bit difficult to understand for in conceptually, so try to read it as for every item in the list of items, do this. So let's say we have 3 items: pencil, crayon, and pen. So for item 0, which is pencil, in items, which is our list, do this set of instructions. It would do the instructions, then go back and take the next item, do the set of instructions, and go back, looping, and do the set of instructions for the last item. So item can be anything you'd like. It can be a variable I, it can be an X for X in items. So it just has to be anything that holds, like, for every X thing in our list, do this instructions. So an example, we have our array here, and in our array, what we want to do is we're gonna want to loop through an array and perform this instruction for every one of these numbers. So for I in numbers, I meaning any item or every item in this array, do this. So for I in numbers, I in the first place would be 1. So sum in 1, sum, which is right now equal to 0, will be equal to 0 plus 1. So sum will end this first loop equal to 1. Then it will loop back up with number 2. So sum, which is equal to 1, will be equal to 1 plus 2. Now it's equal to 3. And so on and so forth till it gets to 6. Looping, looping, looping till it gets to 6. And then it will continue to the next line of code. You can also use index numbers when working with arrays like these. It's just easier to loop when we don't know the exact amount of values inside of an array, because we're appending more items dynamically into an array. So for index or I or X in 0 to, so from 0 to all the total amount of items in our array, then do this instruction. I know it's sort of a little bit conceptually weird, but I hope it gets clearer once we do this first exercise. So we're also going to use a text view. Text view are basically labels, but they're made to store more lines of text than labels. So it's just basically the same thing. The activity for today, we're going to create an app that helps us register participants for an event, and it's just going to list the number of participants that have been added to a list, and that's about it. So we're going to have a text field two text fields, one for the ID number of the student and the other one for their names. And we're going to click a button adding them to our text views and looping them on our text views, as you'll see later on. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to add two text views, one that will hold the ID numbers and the other one that will hold the names of the participants. So here is the text fields where we add the names and ID numbers, and in this button, whenever we click it, they're going to be adding the numbers and the names of the participants. So I've taken the opportunity to adding my objects here. I have added my title. I've added two text views, which you can go here and add text view. And I just deleted the text in the middle, so I can delete that. Two text views, and I added two text fields and a button. So let's just quickly connect these. These are going to be outlets, and we're going to use the acronym text TVW, text view, and we can name this ID. And this one TVW name. Our text field TXT ID. Another text field TXT name. Our button BTN add name. Maybe. Oh, I'm sorry, that was supposed to be an action. So we can delete this. Remember, I'm also gonna delete this. We're not gonna use the view did load function. And we can right click and close that connection I shouldn't have added, BTN add name. And we can recreate that connection once more as an action. We're gonna call it BTN add name UI button. Perfect. So we've created our outlets and actions. And what we're going to do here is we're going to declare two blank arrays on top. So what is declaring? We're just saying I want to create an array that has nothing inside, but I know it's going to be strings, so it's going to be letters and words for names and for IDs. So we can put it right here. Var array names equal to, and the way to create an array is by using these brackets. And we know it's going to be a string. So string and is going to be an empty array. We can copy this, paste it, and instead of names, it's ID. Okay. And inside our action button, we're going to append whatever or add whatever the user inputted in the text fields txt name and txt ID. So whatever the user has written here and here, we're going to add onto an array. So really simple stuff. We're going to add for our array names append. We're going to append that. And what are we going to append? We're going to append txt name and to array ID. We're going to append txt ID. Oh, I forgot to add text here. Dot text. So whenever we click add participant, this button, we're gonna add to our at first our blank arrays. We're gonna add whatever the user has inputted in these two text fields. We haven't connected them here to display them, so that's what we're gonna do next. So So what we're gonna do is, we don't know if our text views already have information, so we don't want to add information over that information. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna add some space here and make them equal to nil. Nil is just saying we want them blank. We want to delete anything, any text that's inside these text views. So these two text views. So we have them named name dot text equal to nil. We want them blank. And tv.id equal to nil. We want them blank because I'm going to show you why in a second. Now, this is our loop. This is the complicated part. So for I in 0, so let's say our array has only one entry right now, one student ID and one student name. So it's going to be from 0 to 1. It's gonna do this just once, these instructions. But whenever we add more, it's gonna run these instructions more times. So let's write for I in is going to be in 0 to 2 array names dot count. It can be array names or IDs because they're gonna be the exact they're gonna equal the exact count for both of them. Dot count, and we can open our brackets. We want our text view equal to whatever the text view had beforehand plus whatever our whatever entries we have in an arrays. So I's. So all of our entries for names and all of our entries for IDs. And what these are is just we're gonna add new lines. They're used commonly in all programming languages /n to represent new line. So let's add first name, so tvw name sorry, dot text is going to be equal to text view name dot text plus array names and whatever the loop is in right now. So if it's only one entry, it's just going to be in that first entry, plus quotes /n. I think it has just had, yep, like that's correct. And we're going to do the same thing but for ID number. And our array ID. And that's the end of our loop. Outside of our loop, we want to delete whatever the text fields holds information here, so we don't accidentally add it once more. So txt name.text equal to, we can either put nil or blank commas. It's more professional to use nil. txt id dot text equal to nil. So let's try out our program. Okay, let's try it out. So we're gonna add our first entry. Let's say ID number 1, Marcelo, add participant. There you go. What it does in order, it sorry, it appends or adds a new name to an array, which an array had 0 entries. So it added Marcelo to that array, and to that ID array it added 1. What it then did is deleted anything the text view had. It had nothing, so it doesn't matter. And then it ran the for loop. So it said for I in the amount of entries in array names, do this. So there was only 1 entry in array names at that point. And what it did is just made text view name equal to whatever text view name had beforehand plus the array names of I, and since there's only 1 entry, then it's Marcelo, and added a new line. It did the same thing for the ID. So let's do it once more, number 2, and let's just name Lucia or something. So it's remembering the information here in our arrays, and it's keeping the information. So every time we run or click the button, it's deleting everything in our text view and reprinting all of the information in our arrays here, looping through them in a for in loop. So that's how to use a for in loop and a text view. We're still gonna get a little bit in depth on loops and these types of controllers, so don't worry about it. Hope you have a great day.